All right, assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Islam. I know we're a bit delayed here in terms of getting the season back together, but hey, um, late, better late than never, right? So, winter 2022 Mecha Division preview tonight. I know you might be waiting for some fancy music, but we're going to be changing that soon. So, for now, you just have us. And speaking of us, I would like to welcome our guests today. First, we have Mr. Hanan here.
Assalamualaikum.
Hanan, how's it going?
All is well over here. Well, glad to be back.
How was your, break?
Oh, yeah. It was good. Yeah, alhamdulillah. You got time to rest. It's always that time between last season and this season that your body thinks it can keep going, but then you wait a few weeks and you're like, maybe I just need a few more weeks, and maybe the COVID did that for us.
Well, speaking of body, there's one gentleman in our league who's been really working his body to get in shape. We have none other than Mr. Umair Baksh.
How's it going,
What's going on, Umair?
Good, man. Good. No rest for the wicked, man.
Yeah, man. We've been watching you on TikTok, man. Congratulations on a lot of the hard work you're putting in.
Thank you, man. Thank you. It's very important. Everyone needs to worry about their own personal health, and right now it's super important for everyone to get back into the gyms because hockey's starting. Get your runs in.
And last but not least, we have also Mr. Imad Hussain. Imad, assalamu alaikum.
Awesome, guys. How are you?
Good. I think the podcast finally. Well, maybe this is the first sign of normalcy coming back into things. Hopefully for the league. As we've heard, actually, I'll let Imad. You maybe can announce it. But when are we getting back?
Yeah, I think the GMs have already communicated with their teams, or they should have, that we're going to kick off the season, the winter 2022 season, on Friday, February 4th. So that's, I guess, Inshallah. 10 days from today. And we're all really looking forward to it. Inshallah, we'll have their schedule ready and posted in the coming days. So just looking forward to that, and looking forward to seeing everyone and just getting out there and getting the legs moving again.
For sure. So, this year, this season, like previous seasons, we have two divisions. We have the Mecca Division and the Medina Division. Tonight's podcast, we're going to be discussing the Mecca Division, and inshallah, next one we will do the Medina. So let's get right into this. What is Zohar saying? Forget schedule. All we want is the New Jerseys.
Who's saying about schedules?
Is he asking for the doubles of Shaitan, or what's the deal?
I know a capital N implies New Jersey as in the state, but anyways, we won't get into that.
See.
All right, boys, let's go. So first up, obviously, we're going to be discussing the Mecca Division, and this year the Mecca Division consists of Iman, Haya, Rida, and Sabr. So number one, we have. Here we go. Excuse me while I cough from time to time, still getting over some stuff. So we have Iman, and here the GMs are Jihad and Yusuf Suleiman.
Yeah, looking at this team, I hope no one takes it the wrong way, but it looks like actually some of your guys have made this comment, but it looks like this team would have been an all-star shoe-in for the finals maybe 3, 4, or 5 years ago. Hopefully these guys can prove us wrong. But there are a lot of guys there, talented, a lot of experience there. But you just wonder how they'll be able to perform this season, and maybe that's lighting a little bit of fire for them. Hopefully, they're watching. But it's going to be interesting to see how the team performs together with so much experience on the team.
So I look at Jihad and Yusuf as GMs, and my stance about them in specific is that if you ever played NHL hockey, played GM mode, and you hit the simulate button, that's typically the way Jihad GM'd last season. He was never there. He just let the players decide what to do, and how that went on. But it ended up working. They went all the way to the playoffs. So hats off to whatever that GM strategy is. But
doesn't everyone go to the playoffs?
Yeah, everyone did.
Hey man, speaking of archaic teams, what the hell is going on with your camera, Hanan? You look like you're using a camera from 1990 or something.
He looks like he's from the Contra from Nintendo.
Which pixel is Hanan? Which pixel is Hanan in there? Hey, there we go. He's back.
Bag. All right.
He's on the Bucks internet plan.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening, but the main thing for me about Iman is that I actually like them as a team because I think that the one thing that they have that other teams are kind of lacking is depth when it comes to goal scorers. Vasim Kagzi, he was a defense last season, but I believe he had more goals than he did have assists last year. So he's definitely someone who can produce. Alongside Khalil Koker, you have Abdullah Patel going down the line. So I think you're get a lot of production from different players and from different lines for Iman. And I think that's something that not a lot of teams can say. So I think that's going to work out well for their favor.
I think the key to this team is it's high hockey IQ. So there's a lot of experience here. There's a lot of hockey experience here, and I think it's just going to come down to can they create the pace that they want in the game, and can they keep up with the other team's pace? And let's see, man. You can't be experienced, and there's a ton of it on this team. Want to welcome back Mr. Abdul Wahab. Wahab is back in the league after being lazy for a year or so, and
Adam Mufta too.
Adam Mufta hopefully doesn't wear his Timberland boots to the game like he did one time. But it's good
Mustafa
to have
Alam as well. Mustafa Alam,
Yeah.
he's veteran, played many leagues, won a lot of championships, and it's good to see him back.
Yeah.
Now, on the topic of Moose, well, I mean, we call him Moose, but Mustafa, I was surprised he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th round. I mean, this guy's a he's usually like in the top 1 or 2 rounds usually.
Legend.
Yeah.
Well, I think with him, I mean, there's no question that he's had a lot of strong performance in the past, but maybe his last showing in Iceland in particular wasn't as strong, and it just shows. I mean, it's difficult to maintain that high level of play at forever like Arakan, but it's I think his experience will definitely come to use, and where he would normally slot in probably on the first pairing on D, I think he'll probably drop back to the second pairing on this team. But speaking with defense on this team, it's interesting because you have Wasim and Riaz, who are definitely defensemen there, and then Mustafa as well. Now the fourth defenseman is a little bit of a wild card, where you could have a number of guys drop back into that spot, whether it's Ali Murtaza, Jihad, who we've known to drop back and really quarterback the play from back there. And then maybe in Wahab, I think he's played D at certain points as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Wahab can, if you want him to.
Yeah, he's pretty versatile.
So it's really going to be interesting to see how they deploy their team and get that fourth person in. I think my bigger concern with this team is who's going to score. I think
Khalil.
Abdullah Patel and
Khalil's going to score. My boy Khalil.
Beyond that first line, I think that they're going to be struggling a little bit to get some scoring going.
Abdullah Patel, he is a goal scorer.
Yeah, he is.
Last season,
soft hands.
He has the talent, and I think Abdul Wahab in himself, like he has the talent as well. He has the speed, and I think there is depth on that second line. I do believe.
Are you talking about Wahab or are you talking about somebody else?
Isn't Abdul Wahab the short guy who runs?
Speed, talent, and hands? That doesn't sound like Wahab. No, I'm just kidding, man. I love Wahab. He's my boy. The thing with Wahab is it depends which Wahab you get. If you get Wahab beast mode, he's so good, right? But you need to get him angry. He's like a little Hulk, right? You have to get him from Bruce Banner into a green machine. Then he starts scoring.
He is one of my top nominations for steal of the drafts. I'm just gonna say that. Like he could come out on top.
Also, I'll just throw it out there. I gotta give some love to Mudley Daniel, and he scored. I was his line mate last season after I was traded, and we produced. Like he scored in a couple of games. He got 2 or 3 goals and a couple of points. If he can just get into some good running shape, he has the hands. So there is scoring there. Just whether or not they can gel and figure out where each other is.
Yep.
Just one last note on Imran Alvi is, he's a solid goalie. And I think that's the one position where they just don't have any question marks. Inshallah, he had a little bit of a rough bout last season, but he's ready to go, and I think he's going to have a strong positive effect on this team.
Yeah, I always get worried when I don't see him run in the chat because he's always the first one to be on our podcast. He's a friend of the show, a friend of the folks here. So hopefully he's good. I know he also had some trouble with sickness and stuff over the break, but hopefully everyone is back in form, inshallah, and his family. So
Inshallah.
all right. So the next team is Team Haya. And where are we? Yeah, so this
Luke.
is Lukman and Salman Khalid. And normally this is a Team Gray, but this year we have Team Purple. Hey, there he is. Rexdale Royalty. You can't have a podcast without Rexdale Royalty and Ben Squad. Where's Ben
There you
Squad,
go.
anyways?
What was that? Ben Squad.
Someone I'm sorry. All right, going back to Haya. Lukman and Salman were the GMs, and they, as usual with Lukman, he's put together a really good team here.
So, for me, Lukman's always been with him and Salman as GMs, that's two defense that you've already locked in as your top 1 and 2 defensemen, which already tells us that they're solidified on the defense end. So what is Lukman doing in the draft? He's looking for forwards, he's looking for goal scorers, and he's looking for producers. Mohamed Hamoudi, I believe, out of the everyone that was drafted in that first round, at least that played last season, I think he had 12 points last season. I think that was tied for the most with maybe Farouk Sani for most points in that first line. So you're already getting someone you're familiar with, because I think Lukman drafted Hamoudi last season as well. And then his second pick, this was a killer pick. He picked Ahmed Khalid. Ahmed Khalid was phenomenal for Iman last season. He was a goal scorer. I think he only scored goals. And that's what you want when you're a team that has 2 GMs as your defenseman. You want someone to just go out there and produce. He's like a mini Waqar Khan. And, honestly,
I have to wait. I have to wait.
Literally, physically, and metaphorically.
But some people will say that as good as Ahmed is, second round, 14th overall, there's a lot of good players that were left on the table. For him to be selected above and beyond all of those, that's too early.
Any goal scorers? I will question it if you can tell me if there was a better goal scorer that was picked after Ahmed Khalid.
With Ahmed Khalid, I think he has a pretty high ceiling, and he's shown that he's improved every season. He won Rookie of the Year in his first season. I think it was summer of 2018 or 2019. And he's had a couple of injuries here and there mid-season, but he's always performed. So I think that Luke and Salman thought that this guy really has the potential to do more. I don't think he's ever, he played with Waqar last season and things went well, but to have a true number 1 center like maybe Hamoudi, I'm just curious to see how that works out for him. And I think it could work out in his favor.
Okay.
I played with Ahmed on his rookie season. He was with us, and I love the little dude. He's so funny. I always razz him and stuff, and he gives it right back. So it's fun being around him. But his play style is very solo. Like, he'll go end to end and score beautiful goals. He'll go into the corner. I think for him to be successful and warrant that second round pick, he's going to have to develop into a player where he's able to play with his team and also make others around him better. Because that first and second round, those are the type of players that get picked there.
And I think that's why he'll be a good fit for Luke and Salman, because those are guys who can help coach him become that more well-rounded, better team player.
Yeah.
And to not only utilize the strengths of others to be better, but also use his strengths and talent to make those around him better.
Okay, enough about Ahmed Khalid. Let's talk about Jawad Majid for a second.
Hanan, please. Wait. Just for that, I'm putting Hanan full screen here. Go ahead, buddy. Talk about your boy.
My boy, Jawad Majid. Welcome back to the league.
The Corolla of Iceland.
The Corolla of Iceland, as I call him. Very versatile. And I think that's the value add Lukman's going to get with Jawad Majid, is that you have someone who can step back on defense to, add that additional layer on your second line of defense. Or you have someone who's phenomenal on the offense. He has scored pretty nice goals in the past. He's a good playmaker as well. And I actually think he'll fit really well with Ahmed Khalid's play style, alongside Abrar, who's on that team as well. I think, the more I look at Haya and the way Lukman's drafted his team, he's got some solid pieces and he's built around those pieces. And I think, this is going to be a phenomenal team to watch in terms of what they can do. And I also just kind of pivoting off of Jawad, I think, one of the things I want to give a shout out to is Lukman picked Khalid Mufti as his goalie. I think, stat wise, Khalid Mufti was probably one of, if top three, if not the best. You could make an argument one of the best goalies from last season as well. So if we get that same Khalid Mufti from last season, and you get that core defense that Haya's built, with Lukman, Saman, let's say Jawad, I think it's just a matter of if the other team slips, the players like Ahmed Khalid, Abrar, are going to score that one or two squeaker goal, and that's how they'll win their games.
And you know what? Khalid also adds Khalid Mufti. Adds another element, which is on higher teams, they're also known to be super intense, right? Like especially Luke. I mean, he's so fiery. I think someone like Khalid really balances that team, right?
Yeah.
Is someone who brings a little bit of calmness to the locker room, and that's really needed. So yeah, definitely great pick for Khalid.
I'll just say one last thing, sorry, on Haya before we move on. It's not Luke's prototypical draft. So I think he went off the board a little bit in how he drafted, because he normally drafts guys who are a little bit more, everyone's a two-way type of player. Everyone's a versatile. We have a lot of scorers here. There's always Mullix there. There's always there's trades for Mullix. The point is, he went off the board a little, and I think he's going for a little more scoring now. So it's interesting to see, and it's not the prototypical Haya that I normally see year to year. So, and maybe it's the purple in the jersey. I don't know. Let's see what happens. But it's a different looking Haya than usual.
Yeah, a couple notes here. Abrar, for those who may not know him that well or be as familiar with him or seen him lately, he's gone through a huge transformation over the last 2 years, let's say during the pandemic, and in great shape. Really happy for him. So I think he's gonna be a little bit of a different player coming into the season than a lot of guys have seen before. And I really expect him to, maybe be one of those guys who performs a lot better than where he was drafted at number 35.
He can play first line if he wants to, just if he can stay consistent.
Yeah, totally. I definitely think he can be a first line guy and score well. The other thing I wanted to mention is the third line. I'm thinking maybe Omar Malik, Zayn Muqaddam, and Danish Ilyas are probably that third line on that team. And those are guys, I know for sure Zayn and Danish. I'm not too familiar with Omar Malik, but those two guys are they go out every shift and they play hard, and they keep the ball out of their own zone. And that's what you need from those guys. So I think Luke, while he didn't draft his typical guys, he drafted guys who he typically likes to have on his team with that playing style. So it's going to really benefit them to have those guys on his team.
They also drafted Uzair Mutala.
He's actually really good.
Yeah, he played in the league a few seasons ago. By year, I think it's 2 years ago. And yeah, he performed really well. He's definitely above average, if not one of the better players. So not a lot of people know him still in the league, which is unfortunate, but he's a really nice brother, and he can add some depth to that team as well.
I think a solid addition to their second line scoring, and could even maybe go in the first. Depends. We haven't seen him in a while.
I think he's a first liner. I think he's a first liner. If he plays forward, he's probably a first liner on that team.
Prove me wrong, who's there? Prove me wrong.
I think maybe he slots in a second line just because he's a center, and I don't know if they have another center on that team unless Jawad moves into the middle. But it'll be interesting to see how they set up.
Hanan had to actually do a double take and look at his notes to make sure Jawad is actually playing this year.
Don't want to get caught again. Making up players this season.
All right. And now from purple, we go to blue. Winter 22, Rida. And here we have Adil Patel and Zaid Agji as the GMs. And Zaid is a goalie and one of the better goalies in the Muslim ball hockey community too.
For me, I always find a goalie pick is a risk as your GM. And this is my mindset, is that, when you look at the GMs for each team, you're looking at, okay, these players would have gone first round no matter what. But, when we talk about, goalies typically never go first round. We had Ali Khwaja go second round for Yakim this season. But other than that, I always kind of feel like that's kind of a disadvantage for the GMs going in. But, I think, Rida was very, very fortunate to get the first overall pick with Huzaifa Panchpaya, who, for me personally thinking, I think, when it comes to, players, I think, he would be a tier SS compared to all the other, first round draft players where they're tier S players. And I think, because of that, it helps offset the fact that Zayd's a GM for that team, and not to discontinue Zayd. He's a phenomenal goalie. I
One
think
of the best.
yeah, and I think he probably would have gone second round if anything. But at the same time, I don't believe he would have been a first round pick as a goalie. And I think having Huzefa on that team definitely helps offset that. And from there onwards, Adil picked with familiarity. A lot of the players that we see on this team, I think Umar, you've seen it we're on talk about last season with Irfan, Gashif.
Yeah, just a couple of names.
Amir.
It's a different team. I'll be honest with you, it's a different team. But the main thing is he solidified his goalie, which is huge for Adil because obviously he wants to make sure that is really shored up in his mind. So him being a defenseman, I think him and Zayd are going to be able to sleep easy, knowing they're taking care of the back end, and then you have guys like Asif Bika who can shoot and score and do everything you need to. EBP who can do two-way defense, offense. You have the Luck and Paul cousins kind of both back in there. So welcome back to the league, guys, and Faraz Alvi for defense there. So there's lots of utility here.
Yeah, but Hanan, just to counter that, your point a little bit. So I mean, they are fortunate they got first pick and they got Hazi, who is probably one of the better players in the draft by far, I would say.
Yeah.
So imagine if it was reversed, where Hazi and Adil, they were the GMs, would make sense, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, I think Zayd is good enough in this pool that he would have gone first. Maybe not first overall, but first round, I could see that. Considering Ali Khawaja, Ahmed, and a lot of other people went in the second and third round. Zayd going first round, absolutely.
I think Zayd and I think if it was Adil and Huzefa, I think if they had the 8th overall pick, they probably would have picked Zayd on the snake, 100%. I think that is a true statement.
Yeah.
No. I'm just gonna say this I'll just maybe say it as a question for Rida. I don't know what kind of playing style they're gonna have. This is a group that I'm like, this is not a group that I've seen like in any kind of format before. So it'll be interesting to see how they mesh. So I think that'll be a question to see. There's definitely talent here, but how will the mesh?
There's goal scorers. That's the one thing I saw. I would say 6 out of the 12 players drafted are true goal scorers.
Wait. Who are those 6 though?
Okay, so I'll say Huzefa, Sulman. Huzefa Punchbaya, you don't think is a goal scorer?
Yeah, no, sorry, I was just saying hell no in general.
Sulman, Asif Bika, I think he was ranked as the hardest shot. Irfan, Zayd Khaler, I think he had 5 goals last season, and Faraz Ovi, he is a left-handed goal scorer.
But I think Sulman and Faraz are defensemen, so they're not going to play.
They can shoot. They can shoot. They
can shoot, but you need guys who play up front who are able to create chances in offense too. And I don't see enough of that on this team. And
their defense is stay at home.
Going back to the drafting strategy and kind of with the GM being one of the GMs being a goalie. Yes, they had a goalie start off, so they could have gone really high with the forward as their first pick, and they did. But at the same time, if they started with 2 high-end non-goalies and then got Huzefa first as well, then I think that would have served them better. So I kind of agree with Hanan in this circumstance because they had to wait till the 16th pick to get their second guy. Yeah. And he's a defenseman. So, I mean, the only real forwards who I see are goal scorers, Irfan Vanavdel, who has seen better seasons in the past. So I don't know if he's going to be as a top performer as, some of us may have remembered from past seasons. I know he had a lot of injury issues last season. You have Huzefa and you have Asif Bika. Aside from that, if Adil Patel plays forward, then yeah, he's up there too. But I see him playing as a defenseman. I don't see anyone else outside of those 3 really scoring a lot of goals.
I think goal scorers in general is going to be a limited commodity this season. There's still going to be goals, right? And I think there's going to be a few people who will step up because there might just be a thin crop of pure goal scorers, but you're still going to have people who are going to be able to score goals. And I think to Hanan's point, there might not be bona fide like pure snipers on this team necessarily, but there's going to be productive individuals here.
100%.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Last year's champions, Sabr, although it's a completely different team. Here we have Huzefa Manjra and Yusuf Saudagar as the GMs.
So, assuming we get the Omar Isawi from last season, who was the 2nd overall pick from Sabr, my question is who on this team is scoring goals, because every one of these players, not to say that they don't produce, but they are all pass first mentality type of players I see on this team, and it worries me that you're going to see
You're
a
on
lot of.
this team. It worries.
I think that guy
I don't know
H
where to fall into
Kafur,
the category.
that H Kafur guy might score a few.
No, he's an assistant. He's a pass first, make a nice pass, and that's the thing is you're just going to see some really nice passes, but who's pulling the trigger? Like when you look at this, who's pulling the trigger to get that goal?
Omar Baksh.
Well, you see, you have Tahir there, who I think he can shoot when he needs
Tahir
to.
can
He's
shoot,
not
yeah.
always looking for the pass, from what I've seen. You have Yusuf, who can score. Yeah, he looks for the pass, but he's not afraid to shoot. Although I don't know, after last season, he might be afraid to shoot because I think maybe he ended up with no goals. You have Zahir Hussein, who had a really good first season in Iceland last season, and I think he had a little bit of a slow start, but he really picked it up. And then you have Taha Azhar coming back to the league after a few seasons away, and he has speed and he can score and kind of just push towards the net. So
Taha plays he's usually more of a stay-at-home D. I mean, he
prefers forward, but I think they
prefers
throw
forward,
him
but he
defense.
gets lumped in D. So he likes to push the play up, and even if he's a defenseman, he often gets lost in the offensive zone deep sometimes. So, but
I think a lot of scoring from this team will actually come from the point. You have Omar as well as Huzaifa Manja, right? These guys, they can shoot from the point. There's going to be a lot of, whether it's tip-ins or rebound goals. That's where the offense is coming from on this team.
But you'll need to set them up, right? You'll need to get into the zone. You'll need to establish the play. And I feel like, Hanan will do it. And right now, like I see Yusuf as a type of player, he likes to get into the zone and he get in, shoot. I don't see that whole, we saw it from last season with Eklas, establish, the offensive zone and then start passing and utilize your defense as they creep up as well.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Baksh, don't you have to go pick someone off at the airport?
I got 10 minutes I can do.
Okay.
Not at the airport. Jeez. Way to be stereotypical. Jeez.
You also have Badger and Net Mohamed Patel, and he's going to be coming back to redeem himself after a season where he probably wants to forget about what happened. And not to say that the performance last season was his fault, but I think it was just a team effort that wasn't consistent. So
he was actually having a really good season to start.
Up until
I think the second half of the season just fell apart for that team.
Mm-hmm.
On Yakin, but you know what? I think he's a solid pick as a goalie, and if he puts everything together, he can be the best goalie in the league. So I'm looking for him to have a strong bounce back season this year, especially with the defense he has in front of him.
I'm also hoping that Abdul Nafia Zuberi, he really steps up. Last season's Brotherhood Award winner, right? And he was actually playing really well, both on yellow and then on black. But he just got snake bitten. He had so many chances. I think he got one goal all season.
Tips.
But if he can break out, he's going to be a top-notch player.
Speaking of Abdul Nafia, I really hope he gets the opportunity to showcase some of his skill and his talent. I'm just kind of looking at some of the names on this team and how they might project to have the line set up. And I don't know if he'll end up playing higher than the third line. I don't know. I mean, in the end, the GMs have a better idea on what's going on. But I hope he plays on one of the first two lines.
I think Huzaifa Manja is the type of GM where he'll reward a player who's doing well with more playing times, and he'll punish players who are just not producing. Kind of not.
He'll trade everyone. He's known to have traded 90% of a team in the past. So,
so I think it'll make players sweat. Like do well or try to do well elsewhere.
Well, this team. If you go through the names, a lot of them played together last year, right? You have
a lot of familiarity.
You have Hazi, you have Abdul Nafia, Ali Mahmoud, Junaid Alvi, Tahir Maroof, Baksh.
Myself,
like half the team have played together at some point last season.
So there's chemistry, 100%. And I think, like looking at Sabur overall, I mean, it has the potential, but I think it's what you said. Like, what players are we going to get that came from last season? Are we going to get the Mohamed Patel of last season? Are we going to get what we typically see as vintage Mohamed Patel in net? Well, and it's crazy. He was the first overall pick for goalie last season, and I guess if you consider that Zaid was already picked because he was a GM, he's the fourth goalie because of Zaid being a GM overall pick this time. So his stock has dropped, and I think this is a good time for him to build that back up.
I'm just gonna say this because this is my team, Hanan, and you're dissing my team here.
Your teammates.
We're yeah. Come on, man. No, this is Suber is I think it's a well balanced team, and I think it has defense that has potential for offense, and I just think there is chemistry built up from last season with a handful of guys, and I think everyone will gel well. It's just gonna come down to, can they tap in that goal? Can they get that rebound? Can they do all the little things that you're supposed to do when there maybe isn't a sniper out there that will do it? And I'm gonna call it out because he's on my team, but Yusuf Odegaard is gonna have a much better season, and I'm gonna make sure, because if he doesn't, I'm gonna make sure I take him to the gym. I'm gonna make sure he gets in shape. He's gonna be benching 210 when we're done.
I don't know if he can have a worse season statistically, so he can only go up from here. Well, it's just motivation for him.
How bad was the season?
He's the first to admit it.
He had 2 assists, and he had 6 penalty minutes.
He also retired halfway through the season. Let's not forget about that, because he lost a bet to Jihad.
He came back.
Hey, but Hanan, I know you're I guess Mobin's saying Hanan low-key bashing his team.
No.
Word of caution to you, my friend. Ali Wadi is not your GM this year.
I never bash my teams. I only speak from the heart. I want to see my team do well.
You just kick them in the nuts. You don't bash them.
I always want to see my team do well, and I like to just give neutral facts about everything I see, and this is what I see.
Vegas has 4-1 odds that Hanan gets traded before Ramadan. All right, was that all the teams?
Yeah, that's the Mecca
Division. It's only 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4.
So my question, I guess, before I know we're gonna wrap it up, but for Imad and Umar, like unbiasedly speaking, who are your top 2 teams for this division? I want to say top 2 because there's always the 2 top ones, and then the other 2 that are just scrambling that usually try to fight for the playoff spot. But
I definitely have Haya up there. As for that second team, I don't know, man. Like it's a toss up between Rida and Suber for me. I don't know. What's that second team?
Rida and Suber. So it's basically Iman for you is the 4th team on the barrel.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think I kind of agree with that, to be honest. It really depends on what Jihad and Yusuf we see, if we see them at all this season. And I don't think
Yusuf
they have
will be there. I'm pretty sure Yusuf will be here this season.
Yeah.
He's out of the country now, so we'll find out.
Well, before we sign off, I was going to share this. Maybe we can just take a quick look here. Just go full screen on this a bit. So these were the full teams and how things were drafted. Excuse me. So we obviously covered Rida, Haya, Suber, and Iman. Yeah. So next week, inshallah, we'll cover Ikhlas, Yaqeen, Ihsan, and Taqwa. But here, as you can see, the goalies went pretty early, right?
Yeah.
As soon as we got to here, they all started falling as per usual.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see if that was the right choice or not. All right. Imad, normally we have some, announcements or whatnot. Any league announcements that you want to share with us before we go?
No, nothing at this time. We're working on the schedule, and as soon as we have that, we will share that with all of you on social media channels. It'll be shared with the GM, so I'm sure they'll notify you once it's available. Yeah, we'll also be sending out another link to our league WhatsApp group, so you can receive all your notifications on there as well. So stay tuned, and gyms open up on Monday if you're not already doing something to keep you in shape. So I suggest you get the legs moving and a little cardio in before Friday next week, so that you're not huffing and puffing on the bench and putting your team down.
Hey, Umair, I know a lot of people have asked you, but how the hell did you still manage to go to a gym throughout all this? Like, what's your secret? Or does it remain a secret?
What gym?
All right.
It's all from his archive. All his posts are from his archive.
They're all old videos. I've been doing it secretly.
They're all deep fakes.
He just drives across the border to Buffalo every day.
Yeah. All right, boys. Let's leave it at that for tonight. Covered 4 good teams. Excited to see the season start up again, inshallah. So let's hope everything stays on course, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Inshallah.
All right. Assalamualaikum, boys.
Take care.
Assalamualaikum.